Welcome back to Property Play. I'm your host, Elena Saradidis, and today I have Melanie Ungar here. We're doing a new episode of Get to Know the Team.
Yay.
So, Mel, why don't you go back to what got you into real estate?
Ooh, okay. I would say we're dating really back. I was very little and my parents loved taking me to open houses. And so when my parents were looking to move out of Thornhill, every single weekend, I was very excited to go to houses. And I just loved seeing houses and talking about floor plans and how to furnish them and everything. And so from very early on, my mom was like, you know what, Melanie? This could be your calling. And so, yeah, that's actually what inspired me and then kind of fell into it.
Okay, but you did not start off in real estate.
No.
I'm going to make you talk about it.
Oh, shoot. Because you're going to Google me.
Yes, you are. So, what happens if I Google you, Mel?
Okay, so I know because you said this last week. You're like, I Google you and I don't know you're in real estate. I know you sing. And yes. So I started off singing and songwriting since I was very little. And somehow we went from singing to selling houses.
Okay, she's really being humble today, which is not like Mel, but
Humility is very important.
she was literally really big in Japan.
Really random. Yes, I had one of my songs going to a lingerie commercial in Japan. And so that was very interesting, like getting a ton of messages like in Japanese. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And then later I found out it was because it was in a commercial for like a really big lingerie company that sadly went out of business. So there is literally nothing to find of it today. So we'll just always remember it was a great commercial. And it was my song.
And then what was the kind of transition? When did you decide you were going to get your license? When did you decide to start trading in real estate? So you went from singer, songwriter to what?
So I was actually studying for my LSAT, which was we love when our parents kind of project what they want us to do with our lives. So I had that moment, and my parents were like, "Oh, you should go to law school. You'd be so good." And I was like, "I am not Elle Woods. It's not going to happen for me." But I did it anyways. I went the LSAT route. I got waitlisted at one school, so that's the closest I got. And then during that time, I was actually selling Nespresso, like the coffee machines, and I was doing really well with that. And it was like a fun job. And then that kind of went into like, well, if I can sell a coffee machine, like, why can't I sell a house? And so I just transitioned into that once I was like, you know what, like law school is really just my parents' dream. It's not mine. And then my mom and I would just kind of talk about like when I was little and be like, why don't you just do real estate? Like you'd be good at it. And here I am.
So you got your license. Like, walk us through what your evolution of being an agent was like. Like, where did you start? How were you doing? How did you get clients? Like, where did you go?
So I started at Zoocasa, which I feel like probably not a lot of people know the name anymore. But back when I started in 2018, it was this very cool, like tech oriented brokerage. And I originally went in for like a CSR role. So it was very customer service oriented that like a lead would come in and then someone on the CSR team would call and be like, hey, we saw you, you know, whatever. And then it would be assigned to an agent on the team. And so I originally was very nervous to just like go right into real estate. So I was like, oh, like little stepping stone, I'll do that. It requires some personality. It'll be fun. And then it'll teach me a lot of things. So I went in for the interview. I did it with the CEO and she was like, no, like you're going to be an agent. And I was like, no, 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 like I could do CSR, like it's fine. And she's like, no, you're going to be an agent and I have someone I want to match you with. And so I was matched with the number one person at the brokerage to help with showings and everything. And I learned so much doing that. And it just kind of helped ease all the nerves that when you're starting in real estate, you're like, okay, this is commission based. Like if I don't do well,
You make no money.
you're screwed. So it was great because I learned a lot. And then I moved from there to kind of doing more of my own stuff. And then we met. And then the rest is history.
There was in between. You're like skipping everything.
What am I skipping?
You left there.
I
you
left.
Joined another team.
Joined another team.
Yes. Keep going. What happened?
I joined another team. We want to talk about how
No,
Oh, wait, what?
I wanna talk about how we actually came to be, how you
Okay,
ended up on this team.
okay, this is a great story. Okay, fine. Okay, so I was working on a team and I was helping with a lot of the rentals and
It was a lot of overseas doctors
a
that were coming.
lot of overseas doctors. So a big portion of the business was helping doctors, fellows, whatever it might be, specifically from the UK, a lot of it. Come here, move here. A lot of it required like virtual showings, and also sometimes the clients would come in and you do tours with them and then kind of figure out where that would go and find them houses. So I was very lucky to have this amazing family from the UK with young kids, which was great because at the time I also had a young son. So there was a lot of just chatting and, and we did a bunch of showings in person, and then they went back to the UK, and then we saw this listing that your name was on, and I immediately was like, "Okay, I have to go do a virtual showing for this. This house is insane." And I remember you called me being like, "We have an offer." And I'm like, "Oh no." And you're like, "Can you get there quickly?" And I'm like, "I'm running." So I run over to the house. I do a virtual video. It was a very long video because the house was absolutely gorgeous and large. And they were obsessed. And they were like, "Okay, we have to put in an offer." And I'm like, "Well, there's another offer." And we did the process. We ended up overbidding a little bit, and then you and I became friends. And then you're like,
Again,
"Hey."
Mel being more modest than ever today.
Okay.
She did the deal. I was like, wow, she's competent. We did a deal well together. I liked her. She negotiated a multiple offer, and I ended up picking her offer. And I was like, Mel, you and I should grab coffee, and I think you should be here.
And we did grab coffee. We grabbed coffee twice. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the story of how like Mel ended up on the team. It was she did a deal with me. I ended up really liking her, and then I was like, I like you. You will stay.
And it was very natural too, which is nice because sometimes I think in real estate, when you start somewhere, you don't know where you're going to end up. And so everything's really networking and meeting people. And then I think when you just create a really good relationship with someone and, you hit it off, then you never know what's going to happen from there.
AKA, don't say no if you get asked for coffee,
No,
unless you're Christina.
yeah, take the coffee. And originally when we met for coffee, I wasn't sure like if I was ready to make a move just because it can feel very life changing and altering. And so it was a few coffees, and then we did it. We pulled the trigger.
Okay, and then since that and benefits of being on the team, what would you what are your hopes for like the path moving forward?
Besides my amazing hugs from you whenever I need them, literally the best hugs. Um, Well, I was gonna say, the first thing is, like, I feel like working with you, you learn so much just by, like, watching you on a phone call. I love, like, listening in on a phone call and seeing the way you negotiate so hard, and you're like, "Okay, that's, like, a really good thing to say." And then you remember it for when you need to use it. But I would say my hopes and dreams? My hopes and dreams would be I think one of the things is and I've learned this from you really well, is, like, converting a rental client into a purchase. And so I think the dream for this year, 2026, is doing more of that conversion because I think a lot of people don't realize they actually can do it and they can actually afford to buy. And I think specifically for like our generation, it can feel kind of dull. And like the media is like, you can't afford anything. So I think when we're trained with, how to navigate those conversations, it can make a really big difference in our clients' lives. And then they realize instead of renting and paying someone else's mortgage, they can afford their own.
Okay. So what's one real estate fact or tip that you would give someone in the audience that is listening?
Um, I think really just going back on what I said is I think you can probably afford more than you think. And so it's really important to speak to someone, speak to a mortgage agent, speak to a realtor like us, and figure out, how you can get into the market because everything's just a stepping stone. And so you don't need to buy your forever home. It may not be your dream home, but it might be perfect for right now. And it sets you up for later in your life and you can actually get there. And I think just like don't listen to the media because I think it's purposely very depressing on the forecast of everything and just actually speak to people, get the knowledge, and you're going to realize, I think, your dreams may be a little bit closer than you think they are.
What are you finding in the market right now?
Um, I think it's an interesting market. Um, I do a lot of rentals, so it's getting busy and it's getting competitive. And I think some people don't realize that even if you're really, really qualified, then it might not be the first place you see that you put an offer in that you get. So I feel like specifically for this spring market right now, it's been one of those conversations to have with people who are super qualified regardless, and just being like, listen, we're going to have to see quite a few places. And it is possible that the first place that we go and see, like, some of them are getting 6 offers on them, or the first day they come to market, they're gone. And I think just managing expectations specifically right now is a big one.
It's amazing. Okay, that's a wrap for today. This was Property Play. If you like content like this, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.